Hello, welcome back to Father and Son Investing. Today is the Senseonics earnings call day, August 9th, 2022. I have listened to the call. I haven't yet received the transcript, so I haven't gone through it in fine detail, but I have listened to the call and re-listened to some segments. I've also looked through their 10Q statement that they filed with the SEC. That's about a 40-page document. So what I'm going to do is we'll answer the three questions that I really had for Senseonics before their presentation. I put those out in a video yesterday, three things I was looking for. And then I want to talk about their revenue and where it's coming from. And I want to talk about their partnership with the Sensia. So here we go. Question number one that I had yesterday, I wanted to know how many patients have had this device now inserted. Remember I talked about that they had about 600 patients within the United States and about 2,500 patients in Europe that they had on their Eversense product. Of course, that was not the Eversense E3, the 180-day device. So I wanted to know how many patients do they have now. That question was not even asked, and I'm running through their 10Q and listening to Tim Goodnow's presentation, I heard nothing about the number of patients who are using this product. That concerns me a little bit. Number two question that I had was how many providers have now been trained to insert this device? So you'll remember that in December of last year, there was about 400 providers. After the last quarterly report, they said that there were about 550 providers. Of course, they had their presentation at the American Diabetes Association and a booth there. And so I was looking for some significant increase within the number of providers who have been trained to insert this device. That question was not asked and was not given in any of the information that I can see. So 2 questions up and 2 questions weren't answered. That concerns me a little bit as well. Number 3 question that I had, I think the answer was inferred during the presentation. They had previously stated that they were going to submit their IDE, that stands for Investigational Device Exemption. It's something that they need from the FDA in order to do their pivotal trial for the 360-day device that they're planning on starting that trial at the end of the year. Now, the answer to that was inferred from a question from one of those, investing houses where they asked about whether the 360-day device has been finalized yet, or if there any tweaking that's still going on with the device. And the answer from Tim Goodnow was that they are still doing studies in Europe, and they are going to use that data then to do the final configuration for the 360-day device. So the answer then that is inferred in that to me is they haven't yet submitted that investigational device exemption to the FDA because they don't know exactly what the device looks like yet. So 3 questions, none of them were answered directly, but one of them was inferred. So that concerns me a little bit. Nevertheless, though, I think that Senseonics has made some significant progress this year, and I think we have to give them credit for that. They have done some remarkable things during the first half. They've gotten the FDA approval for the 90-day device, the Eversense E3. They certainly have gotten the EU approval, essentially the equivalent of the FDA approval in the EU for the same device. So now they have one device being marketed throughout the world, really, and that's going to help them significantly when it comes to manufacturing and distribution. They're not having to maintain all these different products. They've just got one device going now. So that is a significant improvement. And they did present at the American Diabetes Association, which is a remarkable feat in and of itself, to be able to present to that large community of people who care for diabetics. So I give them credit for that as well. Additionally, recently they announced that Anthem, which is the second largest healthcare payer in the United States, has agreed that this product now is no longer an investigational device, but is legit and that they will pay for it. But there still is one behemoth out there who is not paying for this device yet, and that is United Healthcare. They still are calling this an investigational device, and as such are not willing to pay for it yet. Now, regarding healthcare payers, insurance companies in the United States, what I did get out of that as well is even though Anthem, which has about 45 million people covered under their plan, recently agreed to pay for the Eversense E3, there are still healthcare payers out there who have not yet migrated over to the E3, and during the question and answer session, what we got was that they expect that by the end of the year, pretty much all of those then will have their systems updated and will be paying for the Eversense E3. All right, with that said, I want to talk about the revenue and what that looks like. Now, yesterday I said I wasn't interested so much in the revenue, and I'm not interested so much in the dollars, the number of dollars, but I am interested in the percentages. And what am I talking about here? Well, I'm talking about the amount of revenue that comes from outside the United States versus the amount of revenue from within the United States. And what does that look like? So here I have pulled up from the 10Q what the revenue looks like. We can see that for the 3 months ending June 30th, 2022, outside the United States was about double what the revenue was inside the United States, and the percentages reflect that here. If we go back to June of 2021, we'll see that this has increased within the United States a little bit. We've gone up from 29.8 to 32.5, so not that much. But if we look at the dollars here, we'll see that the dollar amounts have gone up significantly. We're looking at 979,000 versus 1.2 million. So that's a pretty nice increase. Again, small numbers, and so the percentage increase can look rather large. Again, if we look also, though, at revenue outside the United States compared to last year, it was 2.31 million, and this year it's 2.50 million. So not that much of an increase. In fact, just looking at the raw numbers, obviously within the United States, there was a higher increase in the revenue than there was from outside the United States. The same applies over here when we're looking at the 6 month ending June 30, 2022. Look at the difference in the revenue here. 1.9 million for June 30, 2022, and a little shy of 1.3 million. So again, inside the United States, these numbers are going up. Outside the United States, for the whole 6 months last year to this year, it actually went down. It was 4.8 million June 30, 2021, and it went down to 4.2 million. So I think that's concerning. Now, why do I think the numbers are looking this way? Well, certainly there may have been patients who are waiting on the CE mark from the EU. That's kind of the equivalent to the FDA. And so maybe they were holding off getting their Eversense XL put in because they were waiting to get the Eversense E3. But one of the things that I'm concerned about is their agreement with Ascensia. So within the United States, Ascensia has a dedicated sales force. I'll talk about that in just a second. But outside the United States, Ascensia is using a combined approach, essentially. So Ascensia is marketing their equipment, and they're also marketing Eversense's equipment. And I think that, there's a conflict there in terms of how well the salespeople are going to be selling those things versus having a dedicated staff where the salesman is making money if he is selling the E3, not selling other Ascensia products. So I think that could be part of the problem as well. Now let's go back to the Ascensia within the United States. From the earnings call, what I learned out of that is that Ascensia only has 19 dedicated sales staff right now, people who are going out and calling on physicians to market this product and get physicians really signed up to start inserting it and then using it on their patients. That to me seems like a pittance. 19, that's nothing when you think about how big the United States is. Now, Ascensia is at least concentrating their efforts right now. Again, this is gleaned out of the 10Q. Ascensia is concentrating their efforts on providers who are managing tightly controlled diabetics. Why? Part of that could be just because this is the early stages of commercialization. It certainly also makes me wonder, though, about Senseonics' ability to provide enough product at this point. They're still a small company, and perhaps they just really haven't ramped up their production capabilities at this point. So, am I concerned about the company? I'm certainly not selling. I think, again, that this is a product that is going to help a lot of people, especially when they get to the 360-day device. If they can get that approved, I think diabetics will flock. Diabetics who use continuous glucose monitors will flock to this product to go see their physician once a year, to have it inserted and removed again in a year, and not have to do all these calibrations, poking their fingers, etc. I think that Eversense is perhaps on a big breakthrough that's going to drive massive amounts of revenue for their company. I am concerned that they weren't given the data. I wish they would just tell us, because everybody wants to know how many patients do you have now, and how many providers are inserting this device, and what kind of growth is happening. So I was bummed that they didn't give that information, and I'm a little concerned that they didn't get the IDE in. They announce these certain timelines, and when they start falling behind timelines, I think that makes investors restless versus when they're meeting these timelines. But if they can get their pivotal trial started by the end of the year, I think they're planning on in December. I think if they can meet that deadline to start their pivotal trial, I think investors will forgive missteps, or really not even missteps, more like just delayed goal attainment. So I'm holding on to my shares. I don't think we're going to see a big bump in the share price from any of this. And of course, knowing that the U.S. is in or out of recession, depending upon who you talk to, I think we're going to see a little drop in the share price really over the next few months. And that's okay with me because I'm, again, planning on holding this one for quite a while. I'm looking at 5 years before I really can say whether this company is still worth investing in. But I'm holding my shares and hoping for the best. I still see some good things happening here at Senseonics. Share this information with a young person in your life. They're really good at investing when you teach them. And you can really change the trajectory of their lives by getting them investing now. Huge, huge, huge sums of money can be made when they start as teenagers. As always, until next time, enjoy your investing.